we'll just go through everything. We'll go through everything, and then you can let me know if you have questions and answers. So I'll just go into it. What is business registration? As the name implies, it is the process of registering your business. So your documenting your business with the Nigerian government. So for the purpose of this webinar, everything I'm going to be talking about is with regards to the Nigerian government. So you can register your business in Nigeria and other places. And at Legal Trunk, also advising that we can help register businesses in Nigeria, in the US, and across other African countries. But for the purpose of this webinar, I'm going to be talking about registering your business in Nigeria. So the arm of the government that is responsible for registering business is the Corporate Affairs Commission. So in this webinar as well, I'm going to be referring to CAC. When I say CAC, I mean the Corporate Affairs Commission. That is the government parastatal responsible for registering business and also regulating business, excuse me. So if your business needs to change the name, if you need to update things about your business, if you need to change the entity, if you need to move from the entity that you registered to another one, is the Corporate Affairs Commission that is responsible for all of that. So, and I mentioned also that business registration in some instances is the process of making your business a legal entity. And I'm going to get into that. It's not all registered businesses that are legal entities. And as we go on with this webinar, you're going to understand. So, and then I said, why should you register your business? You should register your business because it is a provision of the law. If anybody that owns business, anybody that is carrying out business operations in Nigeria is supposed to register their business within 28 days of operations. So you're supposed to actually register your business anytime you have something, do anything that's bringing money into you. You're supposed, it's a provision of the law. So, and I said you register your business to comply with the provisions of the law. I also mentioned that you register your business to separate yourself from your business. So, and that's what we call the legal entity. In Nigeria, there are different types of legal persons. So by legal person, it means that you are recognized as a person at law. That is, you have a right to sue in your name, and you have a right to be sued in your name as well. So businesses are legal entities, but not all types of businesses are legal entities. But if you want to separate yourself, I want to separate Boluwatife Ekundayo from Boluwatife Startup Advisory. So if you want to do business with me, then you'll be doing business with Boluwatife Startup Advisory. The way I can, divest myself from Boluwatife Startup Advisory is to register a company with the name Boluwatife Startup Advisors. And then that way, if you do anything with Boluwatife Startup Advisors, you are not necessarily doing anything with Boluwatife Ekundayo, something like that. So registering your business as well gives you an edge over other businesses, so other unregistered businesses. And if there are like instances whether you want to sue or anything, it just makes you better, makes you look better in the eyes of the law. To register your business as well, you protect your brand assets. E.g., if I have a business called Boluwatife Startup Advisors, and there are a lot of Boluwatifes. For example, if there's another Boluwatife Startup Advisor somewhere, the moment I register my Boluwatife Startup Advisor, no other person can register that company name, Boluwatife Startup Advisors. So that's actually why you register your business. You also protect your business marks. There are also other things to do to protect all your trademarks, and that's with registration of trademarks. But the first step to register and to protect your brand assets is to register as a business entity. Then you give your clients and you give investors confidence in your business by registering your business. So if somebody wants to invest in your business, for example, they want to know if that business is a legal entity. And investors will generally not, invest in a business that has not complied with the barest minimum is to register your business as a legal entity. So these are some of the reasons why you will register your business. Some people also register businesses to take advantage of some government incentives. You know, there are incentives to starting business, there are incentives, there are tax incentives and all of that. So all those things are things that you can take advantage of when you're a legal entity, when your business is registered, so to speak. So I just want to confirm that you're still hearing me, and up until here, we are good.
Yes, Bolu, I can hear
All right.
you. I think we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so if we're joining, I can see 3 more people just joined. So if you're just joining, we're talking about all you need to know before registering a business in Nigeria. And you have not missed so much. I just described what it means to register a business, which is documenting your business with the government. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is who can register a business in Nigeria. So in law, we call it capacity to register businesses. So who has the capacity to register a business in Nigeria? And I already said that anybody can register a business in Nigeria. It is very easy. So Nigeria has a regime called ease of doing business. So anybody can actually register a business. But there are exceptions. There are people who cannot register businesses. So I don't want to say that only the following people can register business, because it will then be it will be a little confusing. So the thing is, the Nigerian law has made it easy for anybody, any and everybody to register businesses. However, there are some people that cannot register businesses. So people less than 18 years, people of unsound mind, people that are undischarged bankrupt. So for you to be an undischarged bankrupt, it means someone that has gone into bankruptcy, businesses that have gone into bankruptcy, meaning that they are owing debts and they are undischarged, meaning that there are still debts that they are servicing. So they don't have enough, for all the money that they have is going into um servicing some debts, and the court has not discharged them from servicing those debts. So those are the categories of people that are called undischarged bankrupts. So also people who have been found guilty of frauds or fraud related crimes. So is a little more complex in the way the law describes it. The law describes that people who have been disqualified from being business directors. So company directors, for example, there are people that can be directors of company, but if you have been convicted of any crime related to fraud or money, you will not be a company director. So by virtue of that, you can also not form another company. So that's why I just simplified it and say that anybody that has been guilty of embezzlement, fraud, or fraud related crimes, they cannot form a company. So however, in all of these, if somebody is less than 18 years or of unsound mind, if they want to join the formation of a company or a business entity, what it means is that there needs to be one other person who has capacity. So if I want to start a company and I want 3 people to start a company, then and 2 of those people they don't have any of these shortcomings on the screen, but one of them is a child of 17 years, then that 17-year-old person can join the formation of the company. But um there's the process of legal guardianship. So if they want to claim dividends and something, they will claim it in the name of their guardians until they are 18. So basically basically the way it works. So these are the people that cannot start a company. In the case of foreigners can actually start a business in Nigeria. And so that's what we call foreign participation in Nigeria. So foreign persons, foreign companies can form businesses. However, there are also other requirements to be met if they are forming companies in Nigeria. So they have to meet some immigration requirements. They have to get they have to get permits from what we call the Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission. They have to get expatriate quota and all other immigration requirements to be able to form companies in Nigeria. Companies And for foreign entities, it has to be a company. And then I'll get there. I'll explain what a company is and how it's different from other business entities. So I also mentioned that some other industry, like the banking industry, insurance industries, for example, medical industries, for you to form a business, apart from registering with the CAC, there are also some other things that you need to do. There are requirements like minimum capital requirements before you can form a company, before you can own a bank or a banking company, or what we call an other financial institution, before you can own an insurance company, a stockbroking company, before you can own an investment company. There are some other things that you need to do, but these are like on the very basic level. For you to register with CAC, these are the things that you need to know as it relates to who can register a business in Nigeria. So I'll just go on to the next slide, which is, and this is very important, the types of business entities in Nigeria. So for the purpose of Nigerian registration, we have business names, we have limited liability companies, we have incorporated trustees. So, and this is what it means. Business names are sole proprietorships, what people will call one-man business or partnerships. So if you register your business as a business name, what it means is that you are not a company. You don't have to comply with the requirements for companies having a company secretary, having annual general meetings, having shareholders registrars, having a register of shareholders, all the things, your leaseholding and all of that. You don't need to, it is less demanding, like on the regulatory front. So you don't need so much structure, but you are registered with the CAC and you are known as a business in the eyes of the law. That's what it means. However, and I put it under, I said, while other business entities are recognized as legal entities, a business name is not a legal entity within definition of the law. So if you remember, I had said that if I want to register Boluwatife Startup Advisors, and I want Boluwatife Startup Advisors to be different from Boluwatife Ekundayo, such that if I have a contract, if I want to enter into contract with somebody as my business, I will not enter into the contract as Boluwatife Ekundayo. I'll register as Boluwatife Startup Advisors. So that is I will not do that by way of a business name. Or business name is either a sole proprietorship or a partnership. So a partnership, 2 or 3 people come together for the purpose of making profits and sharing profits evenly or based on any profit sharing formula they have within themselves. And so this is why they are not legal entities, is because they are not limited liability companies. It means that if that business goes into debt and you want to go against the business, you have to go against the owners of the business. That is when it comes to business names. So the liability of the company is not limited to the amount of shares or anything that, do you understand? I don't know if you understand. If you understand, you can just type in the chat box if I'm making sense. Hi guys, are you still there?
We're with you. I understand what you're saying perfectly. We're with you.
Yeah, I want like maybe David or Teslim Babalola to confirm that I'm making sense. Or yeah.
Okay. Please, you can just drop that in the chat box. And if you have any question for her, you can just drop it. She will see them as she's going on.
All right, thank you. I can see that they said they said they understand. So, and that's the difference between the business name and other types of business entities. So for business name, you cannot sue a business name in its own name. So if I register Boluwatife Ventures for the purpose of startup advisory, for example, but I register as a business name, if if Boluwatife Ventures owes you money, you have to show Boluwatife Ekundayo, because the business name is not a legal entity in the eyes of the law. It's just documented, is known, is recognized as a business, but it's not a separate person. It's not a legal person, so you can't sue it in its own name. That doesn't mean that you cannot sue for any debts that Boluwatife Ventures owes you. It just means that you have to sue Boluwatife Ekundayo because she's the one that is trading under the name of we call it trading under the name and style of Boluwatife Ventures. And so that's really the difference. But for limited liability companies, and they are either limited by shares or they are limited by guarantee. For limited liability companies, you have private company limited by shares. So for private company limited by shares, the liability of the company is limited based on the shareholding of, so for example, myself, David, Teslim Babalola, Omotunde Ononga, we come together and say we want to form a business. And because we want to form a business, we're going to register a company. But I'm going to own 10,000 shares in the company. Omotunde is going to own 20,000 shares in the company. It means that the liability of the owners of the company, the shareholders, is limited to the percentage of shareholding they have in the business. So if I have 20,000, let's assume 20,000 shares, 20,000 naira, and the company is owing money, I'm only liable up to the amount of shareholding, up to my 20,000 naira. You cannot go against my personal businesses for personal funds, for example. That's what it means. But for private company limited by shares, you have a minimum of one person to register the company, but a maximum of I think 50 now. Is usually for, is a smaller company, is for people that know themselves on a very, maybe not very personal level, but for people that kind of know themselves somehow, to those are the kind of people that own private limited liability companies. But for public companies, and you must have heard when people say a company is going public. So what it means is that anybody, there's no limit to the number of people that can join a public company, and is always limited by shares. Whenever there's a public company, it's limited by shares. So that's why you would have heard that, oh, what, we're buying shares. There was a time it was a very big thing. If you're buying stock in like Apple, for example, is because Apple is a public company, and that's why you can buy their stock. That's why you can, in US, they call shares, they call it stock. In Nigeria, stock is a bundle of shares. So, and that's why you can buy their shares, for example, because they have gone public. So the requirements for public companies is a little more stringent than private companies. So there's what we call the company limited by guarantee. And I'm going to describe it in line with the incorporated trustees. So all the businesses that describe up until public company limited by shares, they are called for profit organizations. They are businesses that do for the purpose of making profit. However, for company limited by guarantee and for incorporated trustees, they are non-profit making. The difference is that for a company limited by guarantee, you're supposed to make money, but the money that you make is for the advancement of a charitable purpose. So you're not making profit. If you make any profits, you don't share it. You use that profit in quotes. So because it's not a profit, you use that profit for the advancement of a charitable purpose, maybe scientific, educational, arts, whatever. However, for an incorporated trustee, you are not even supposed to make money at all. You are not supposed to have what is it called? You're not supposed to have like a school and then collect fees. You're not supposed to make money. That's an incorporated trustee. And so most NGOs, they call them not-for-profit organizations or non-governmental organizations, they are incorporated trustees. So I have dwelled a lot on this slide. So I'll just go to the next slide. And I say, is it possible for CAC to reject my business registration application? And it is very possible for a number of reasons, and I'll highlight a couple of them. The most important one, and you know that when I describe why you should register your business, I said you register your business to protect your trade assets, your business as advisors. Another person cannot register Boluwatife Advisory, for example. So if the name of your business, if it conflicts, sorry, can you still hear me? I think my internet is breaking. Helen, can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. It was breaking for a while, but it's back to normal now.
All right, thank you. Okay, so I said that it's possible for CAC to reject your business registration if the name of your business, if it conflicts with or is likely to conflict with the business name or the trademark of another registered business. So CAC will not accept such registration. And that's the major reason why a lot of business applications and the registration applications are turned down. Another thing is if the nature of the business is illegal, the law will not allow you to do something illegal. So you cannot register a business, for example, in Nigeria for the purpose of selling hard drugs. You cannot register a business for the purpose of doing something that is criminal. So you cannot register a business for example, fraud persons cannot come together and say they want to register the business and the purpose of the business is to do something related to fraud. CAC will not. In fact, if that's a flag, they will most likely report you to AFCC or, report you to the relevant government or government parastatal to sanction that. If another reason why businesses are turned down is, you remember I mentioned some disqualification in slide 3. If the person that wants to start business if the only person that wants to start business is less than 18 years, they will not register your business, for example, and other thing. Or if you're an alien and you've not met with, by alien I mean a foreigner, for the purpose of Nigerian companies law, they are referred to as aliens. So if you're a foreigner and you've not complied with immigration requirements, for example, you'll not be able to start a business in Nigeria. And I mentioned that it is a requirement of the law that you register your business within 28 days of commencement of operations. If you don't, and whenever you register your business, you will incur some fees. So I go next into relevant taxes for businesses. Before I go there, I just want to mention that for the purpose of Nigerian companies, now one person can register a company. Before, it used to be 2 or more persons that register a company. So for the purpose of private companies, it's 2 to 49 or 2 to 50, but now is 1 to 50. So one person can actually start a company. But for a public company, you can't just be one person because it defeats the purpose. So I think minimum for public companies is 50 or 10. I'm not sure right now, but I can maybe do the research and we'll just put it on our blog post on the Vazi Legal blog or the Legal Trunk blog sometime later. So we'll go to the taxes applicable to different business entities. So if you have a business name, for example, you're not going to pay companies income tax. You're not going to pay companies income tax because you're not a company, but you're going to pay personal income tax because everybody in Nigeria is supposed to pay personal income tax as long as you're making money, whether you are an employee or you are you have your own business. So you're supposed to do your annual returns, your annual tax filing at the end of the year. And the tax regime in Nigeria is self-assessment. So you're supposed to assess how much profit you made out of your business, and then they will count that as your income, and then they will just tax it as personal income tax. I don't want to go into the calculation of personal income tax because it's a little complex, we have something called a graduated tax regime. So there's no one, it's not like 10% of your income. If you're earning less than say 300,000, there is like 1%, then it goes to 3%, then it goes to 5%, it goes to 7%, and then it goes to 11, and then 30%. There's a lot of mathematics to do, but maybe one of these days we'll have a class or a webinar to describe um how to calculate your taxes. But if for all other business entities, apart from the incorporated trustees as well, for incorporated trustees, which are NGOs, you're not supposed to pay tax because you're not making profits. But you file what we call annual returns to the CAC. So at the end of the year, you tell CAC that, oh, these are the amounts that we've collected in grants, and these are we disburse them. So you file annual returns to be sure that you're not making profits. The moment you make profits, then they will tax you. So that's the way it works. So for companies, you pay companies income tax, which is less than 25 million. They pay zero between 25 to 50 million. You pay 10%. I don't know if it's 10 or 20, but for big companies, they pay 30%. 30% of their profits is taxed as companies income tax. Also, companies pay personal income tax on behalf of their employees. So they pay personal income tax on behalf of their employees. And then there's something we call stamp duties. So it's really the tax that government imposes on some transactions, on some documents. So if you're buying land, for example, you pay tax stamp duty when you are registering your deed of assignment. And for if you are buying a vehicle, also you pay stamp duties for the purpose of registering your vehicle. So stamp duties, the rate is 0.75% on the transaction amount. That's the rate of stamp duties. Value-added tax is the tax that imposed on goods and services. So if you're a company who is producing goods, or if you're a company that is your work is services, you're supposed to charge your clients VAT, which is now 7.5%, used to be 5%. So you're supposed to charge your clients 7.5% of the 0.5%. The tax people, which is the Federal Inland Revenue Service, the tax guys they are going to remove 7.5% as VAT. So you will see that if you go to stores, you go and buy food or you go and buy grocery, at the end you will see that they have charged you 7.5% as tax, as VAT. So that's the money that you pay on goods and services. Everybody pays VAT, whether you're a company, whether you're a person, as long as you're buying food, you're buying credit, you're buying data, all of those, you're paying tax, you're paying value-added tax. And then there's something we call the capital gains tax, which is the tax that the law imposes on making capital gains on assets. So if you flip your assets, I mean, if you sell a commodity, if you sell land, and you, as a company, and you make profits, the law will tax you. I can't remember the taxing. I don't know if it's 10% now, but the law will tax you capital gains, and you're supposed to remit. Let me just find out what the capital gains tax rate is. I used to know it off the top of my head. Yeah, it's 10%. So it's 10% on gains. If you don't make a gain, however, you are not going to pay that tax. In fact, some people argue that the government is supposed to give you money if you're not making a gain, but I'm not sure about that. I don't know how it works. So if you sell land, you sell property, you lease your land and you make profits, you're going to give the government 10% of that profit as capital gains tax. And then there's something called withholding tax. Withholding tax is a way the government tries to get income tax in advance. So withholding tax is different from transaction to transaction. If you are doing, pardon me, for example, if it is like rents and some interest on rents and some other things, I think it's charged at 5%. It's between 5% and 10% on different transactions. So what it means is that if you have paid withholding tax on some things, by the time you are calculating your income tax at the end of the year, if your income tax is supposed to be 500,000 and the accumulation of all the withholding taxes that you've paid that year is, if the accumulation is 200,000, the government will remove the withholding tax from the amount of income tax you're supposed to pay. I don't know if that makes sense. Well, if it makes sense, you can just tell me in the chat box. So it's the way the government tries to get the income tax in advance, so that it's just a way to curb tax evasion. It's not double taxation. So yeah, that's another. And then there are industry specific taxes. For example, petroleum profit tax, that's for oil companies. There are other taxes, I think, for medical companies, insurance companies as well. And then there are some other levies and deductions imposed by law. For every company, you're supposed to contribute to the education fund. There's a pensions contribution for your staff. There's employee compensation fund. Then there is the industrial trust fund. All those things there. And then if you have, the way it works is that if you have contributed to these funds, they are allowable expenditures. So they are allowable deductions. The law will allow you to deduct it from the amounts that you're supposed to pay as tax at the end of the year. So yeah, so those are like the causery things that I wanted us to talk about in this class. What you need to know to register your business. You know that you're supposed to pay tax. There are some other things that you also need to do. If you're a company, you're supposed to have an annual general meetings, at least one annual general meeting. You're supposed to have a quarterly meeting of your board of directors. You're supposed, if you're a public company, you need to have a company secretary. You need to have board of directors as well. You need one non-executive director, and then some other provisions of the law. For companies generally, you need to file annual returns, you need to pay tax, you need to comply with all these requirements of the CAC at the end of the year. So if you file annual returns at the end of the year, it counts towards your tax clearance certificate as well. So you're supposed to submit your annual audits, your profit and loss accounts as well. So for the purpose of investment, for example, investors want to see your tax clearance certificates, which show that you have complied with all your taxes in 3 years. 3 years before they've given you, in the 3 years preceding the giving you the certificate. So those are the kind of things that you need to know if you're thinking about starting a business in Nigeria. I tried as much as possible to rush the presentation, and I hope that you have gotten something in this class. And in this webinar, it's not a class. So let me know if you have questions. I'm willing to take your questions. Like the next 10 minutes, we'll be able to take questions.
Wow, thank you very much, Bolu. Thank you so much. You really tried to cover too much ground in this short time. It's really quite informative, and I've learned something. I have a question though. So there was a place you said that if the name of the business conflicts with or is likely to conflict with the trademark of another registered business, that the business will not be registered. Does this mean that once you register your business, you have automatically registered the trademark?
No, that's not what it means. That's actually not what it means. What
Oh,
trademark registration is another process, but
okay.
there are some things that upon registration, there are some things, your trade name cannot be taken from you, and your trade name is part of your trademarks. However, there are some other trademarks that you need to register under the trademark registration process. And that is maybe your brand assets, your, like Coke now, Coca-Cola, the way they write Coca-Cola, that font is trademarked. You cannot use it for another business. There's people go as far as registering catchphrases. There was one bet that we had one time. I can't remember now. I can't remember the name of the bets, but their catchphrase used to be, "If it be you, no other person can use if it be you." I want to assume that Hypo has registered Hypo Go Hypo. So you can register those things. And if those trademarks are registered and somebody else wants to register Hypo Go Hypo or Bolu Go Hypo as a business name, CAC will not register it. That's what it means. Hi, Helen, did you get that? Hi, Helen, please confirm that you can hear me. Please, sorry, if you can hear me, can you just type it in the chat box?
Sorry, Bolu, I got cut off. Yeah, I heard you. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So I have some questions in the chat box and I'll just take them now. Someone says, if I register the business name and I want to change it, how do I go about it? So the process is, there's a process to register your business name. You're supposed to register all the changes in your company, your business entity. So if you change your name, if you change your business address, you're supposed to register it with the Corporate Affairs Commission. Usually they will just ask for some details of the old name, the new name. Also, they'll also run the search on the new name to see if it's infringing on any trademark. If it doesn't, they'll register it. So usually something lawyers can do for you to register your business name. Someone said, can I share more details on the annual tax returns if you have a business name? So for business name, you're supposed to file annual returns. So the process as well is something that lawyers can do for you. You will file annual returns with the CAC. However, the annual returns is not the annual tax returns. You pay your tax annually at the end of the year to the FIRS, but the revenue service of the state will be the one that collects it. So if you're living in Lagos, LIRS, Lagos State Internal Revenue Service, will collect the tax on behalf of the Federal Inland Revenue Service. I don't know if that makes sense. But for the purpose of CAC, you are supposed to file annual returns. The annual returns is to see how much you have made and to see how much you're supposed to pay as tax to FIRS at the end of the year. I don't know if that makes sense to the person that asked the question. So if you are okay with the answer, you can just let me know in the chat box. So Omotayo is asking me if it's compulsory to have a tax identification number. So yes, everybody in Nigeria, especially in Lagos, you're supposed to have a TIN. I think there's a Lagos law that makes it compulsory for all Lagos businesses to have tax identification numbers. To get your tax identification number, I think you need to log into LIRS. I did it recently, so let me just try the demo, and then I'll tell you. It's something that you can do yourself.
Oh, okay. So I mean, when if if they don't want to do it themselves, so Legotron can help them, like we do
Okay.
free tax identification number when they register their
Yeah.
business with us, whether
Yes.
business
Once you
name or
register your
yeah,
business, yeah.
we can
Once
do
you
that
register your
for you.
business, then the app in
Um, you're breaking, Bolu.
talk to the people of Legal Trunk, and they will help you get your TIN. Your TIN is your tax identification number.
Yeah.
Yeah. So someone says, let's say you're trademarking your logo, brand name, and phrase. Does that mean one trademark application or three? So trademark application is per mark and class. So what I mean by per mark and class is that your name is one trademark, is one mark. Your logo is another mark. A phrase is another mark. So you pay for all those marks and class, but it is in the same application. It is within the same application process, but there are three different marks. You can also trademark your brand assets across different classes. So there are, if you are working, if your product is, for example, if it's a health product, for example, you can trademark it as a drug, you can trademark it as skincare, you can trademark it so that if any other person wants to start a skincare business, for example, they will not be able to use your brand assets that you have already registered. For fashion for example, as well, beauty and cosmetics, there are different classes. So you pay per mark and class, but it is within, you can do all those marks and all those classes within one application. I don't know if you understand this, David Delight. If it answers your question, you can just put that as a comment in the chat box, or you just give me a thumbs up. Let me know if it answers your business. So someone says, how do you file taxes? So tax filing is done with the Inland Revenue Service of the states that you are resident in, whether as a business or as a person. So once you register your business, they will give you a tax office that is supposed to come to you. And then you will get a tax clearance certificate as well. You're supposed to get your tax clearance certificate immediately you register your business. And I believe that's something Legal Trunk can do for you. So can this be done by the business owner, or does the lawyer need to handle it? To be fair, I will say that it is something that you can do by yourself, but usually gets more complex. Usually gets complex if you're doing it for yourself, especially if you're handling large amounts of money. So it's something that auditors and tax guys, there are tax auditors, there are people that are registered with the the FIRS that can do it tax. I don't know if it's a service that Legal Trunk can handle, so I will let Helen answer that. The next question as well from the anonymous attendee says, how do you help businesses? Are your services also affordable? I'll also let Helen answer that. That's a question for Helen. So those are two questions for Helen already. Amatayo says, once I have the TIN, how am I charged? Is it monthly or yearly? And do banks charge separately for having a business account? So I will answer the business account part separately. So for you to have a business account, you need to have registered your business, and then you submit an application with your bank. The bank will most likely ask for your NIN and some other things of the business owners. So I don't know what the bank charges for having business accounts are. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know it right off the top of my head, and I don't know if that's something that Legal Trunk can do for you. But for the TIN, I know that you file your taxes annually. So at the end of the business year, you're supposed to file your tax with the FIRS. So, and so that answers the questions whether it is monthly or charged or yearly. But your tax is calculated monthly. So your personal income tax is calculated, is a percentage of the amount you make that month, but you pay everything at the end of the year. So it allows you to remove some allowable deductions like withholding tax, some other things. Do you understand? So they will not be taking it monthly, but they calculate it monthly, and then you pay at the end of the year. I don't know if this answers your question, Omotayo. If it answers, you can just give me a thumbs up. I don't know that Omotayo can hear me, but I will leave. I see that Helen has answered the question about are your services available for Legal Trunk? I also need Helen to answer if Legal Trunk does the tax filings for businesses, if it's a service they offer at Legal Trunk.
So I think that is done by the Vax Legal side of us. So even if we get that, then Vax Legal will be handling that for us. So, but anyway, you could always send us a message on hello@legaltrunk.com with any service you need, right? So would help you undo everything.
All right.
Yes, and you could also you could book like a free consultation in case you still have questions that you need answers to. So you could book a consultation call with one of our lawyer, and you could get your questions answered. It's a free, it's actually free. The consultation call is free. Then we would know how to proceed from there. But in the meantime, please send us an email on hello@legaltrunk.com with any of your inquiries or questions.
All right, thanks, Helen, for that. Someone is asking if tax is deducted automatically. No, your tax is not deducted automatically. Like I said, the tax regime is a self-assessment regime. So you're the one that is supposed to assess how much you're supposed to pay as tax, with the exception of payee. So the pay as you earn is the tax that is on your salary. Is your employer that removes that on your behalf. So your employer is supposed to pay that tax on your behalf. So that's that. Yeah. So your tax is not deducted automatically apart from your salary. And the person that deducts that is your employer. It's not the tax guy. It's not the Inland Revenue Service. It is your employer that removes it automatically for the purpose of computing how much they have to pay at the end of the month and at the end of the year. And if that answers your question as well, Omotayo, you can give me a thumbs up. Delight is asking us to drop our email and social media here in the chat. So Helen will drop it there. Thank you, Omotayo. Anonymous attendee is saying if a business isn't having a revenue of 25 million, you don't get taxed. So that's for the purpose of a company. I'm going to explain the taxing again. So a company, if you register a company, a private limited company or a public limited company, I mentioned that if you're a small company with a turnover of less than 25 million, you pay 0% in company's income tax, in your company's income tax. There are other taxes like value-added tax. There are taxes like withholding tax, for example. There are taxes like personal income tax of your employees. There are other taxes like stamp duties, capital gains tax that you still pay. But for the company's income tax, which is the tax on the profits of a company, if you're making less than 25 million, you don't pay that. But that is the purpose of it, for the purpose of a company. For a business name, that business is not taxed per se because it's not a best person at law. The person that is taxed is the owner of the business. So all the profits that the person makes from that business is calculated as their income for the purpose of their personal income tax that they pay. So the personal income tax is the company that you make on the income, the tax that you pay on the income that you make as a person is an individual tax on your individual income. So if you have a business and you have a salary, after your employer has removed your, and I'm explaining what ought to be, what is supposed to happen. After your employer has deducted your income from your salary, you're supposed to also pay some other monies as your personal income based on the profits you have made out of your registered business name. Anonymous attendee, I don't know if this answers your question, that you can send Legal Trunk an email, or if you just ask me again, maybe I can take it before the end of this call. All right, the person left me a thumbs up. So I believe that answers your question. I believe I have taken all questions. Helen, so I'll just leave this session to you from here. Hi, Helen, are you still there? Please, can you hear me? I don't know. I don't know that Helen is still on this call. Okay, all right. David said they can hear me. Just give Helen maybe 1 minute to wrap up the call. Oh, sorry. I'm just seeing that I'm sorry, Teslim Babalola. I'm just seeing this your question. You said that you registered a company in year 2012, but you did not put into operation. You learned that you need to pay corporation tax. I don't know what you mean by corporation tax, because if you mean company's income tax, if you are not making profits, then you're not going to pay income tax. However, you are still supposed to file your annual returns with the CAC. The annual returns is the one that will now let you know that, oh, you're not supposed to pay any tax because you're not making any profits. Between 2012 and now, that's 11 years. You are supposed to you will file all those annual returns year after year, and it's something that the team and Legal Trunk can do for you. However, if you're not using that business, it's possible that CAC would have closed the business, or it's possible that you need to close that they won't close it on your behalf because it's a company. So there's a winding down process. So I don't know about it, but I know you have to file annual returns to bring the business back.
Oh. Bolu, I'm so sorry. My system just shut down. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. I think everybody can hear you as well.
Oh, okay.
So I just answered all the questions, and I was hoping that you can just in a minute or two you can wrap up the session.
Yes, yes. So thank you very much. Thank you so much for staying with us till this time. Thank you for that insightful presentation and for the questions and answers. I hope everybody have learned something from this webinar. And I would just like to say that Legal Trunk, we can help you register your business, whether you want to do business name registration or you want to go for a company formation, any kind of business you want to register in Nigeria here, even in the US, we can handle your business registration. So please just talk to us. And if you have any questions, further questions or inquiries, you could book the free consultation call, like I said earlier. You could check us out on our social media, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on Twitter. We are Legal Trunk everywhere. And you could send us an email on hello@legaltrunk.com. Yeah. So yeah, thank you very much for staying with us till this time.
All right, thank you everyone. Thank you for joining. So
yeah, and concerning the annual tax filing, yeah, we could actually undo that as well. So just reach out to us and we'll do that for you.
So thank you everyone. So I'll be leaving.
Yeah, thank you. Good night, everyone. Bye.
Enjoy the rest of your weekend.